Hello friends, followers and channel members, welcome back to the channel and another video here for Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. So the Fenix A320 is about to become the Fenix A320 family with the release of the Airbus A319 and Airbus A321 coming out next week. Now, this will be a release that so many people, myself included, have eagerly been waiting for. But at the same time, many of you might also be thinking, well, what really is the difference between the Airbus A320 and the A319, A321? Apart from the fact, of course, that they have different range capabilities and carry a different amount of passengers. Well, it is a lot more than that. In fact, it's actually, for someone like me, really exciting because we now get the whole Airbus family, and there's lots of different things to think about as well, depending on which variant of the A320 family you're going to fly. This becomes even more important to think about this when you see the level of detail that the Fenix developers have actually gone to in bringing these into Microsoft Flight Simulator. Now, first thing first, yes, you do need the base package, and that is the Airbus A320. When the expansion package, the A319 and A321, gets released later this week, there will be a special offer on for those of you who haven't yet got the base pack of the A320. So if you haven't got the A320 just yet, you may want to just hold off a few more days, because then a special offer will be coming comprising of all three aircraft. So most of you will already be familiar with the A320, of course, so what are the actual differences and nuances of flying the two different variants? Well, first of all, let's start with the Airbus A319, usually used for shorter hops, has a lower maximum takeoff weight and maximum landing weight, and this is actually something that can cause issues, particularly if you've got a full load of passengers, you've got quite a decent amount of fuel on for whatever length flight it is you're flying, and there's bad weather up ahead at the airport you're going to. This can leave you in a bit of a sticky situation because diverts may be more common than with the A320, which can of course handle more fuel. One of the easiest ways to spot the difference between the A320 and the A319 usually is that the A319 normally only has one emergency exit over the wing. That is, of course, until some certain airliners, EasyJet, decided that actually they wanted two. Now, obviously, EasyJet carry more passengers on their A319s than an airline, say, like British Airways, who will include things like business class with added legroom, so obviously there are less seats on their A319s compared to a low-cost carrier who want to try and cram as many people in as possible. Now, rather amazingly, the Fenix team and developers have gone along with this, so you have the option of either the one-door or the two-door configuration. Now, it's easy to say that this is just an artwork issue, but it really isn't. This then starts to bring in things like the eCam SD door pages, so there's lots more going on than just throwing in an extra door, and of course the Fenix team have mimicked this perfectly. The A319, of course, much lighter than its two counterparts, also means that if you are flying with not much fuel and quite a light payload, then this thing is going to run away on the ground. Yes, it will quite easily taxi under idle thrust, so you're going to have to keep an eye on that taxi speed. How are you going to do that? Well, not by riding the brakes. Doing that all the way to the runway threshold will just get the brakes hot, and how embarrassing would it be to have an overheating brake system when you're about to depart. This, of course, has been included in the simulation, as is Airbus's technique of allowing the aircraft to naturally taxi up to about 30 knots, then use the toe brakes to slow down to 10 knots. This is meant to be the most efficient way of slowing the aircraft down and making sure the brakes don't get too warm. The overall handling of the A319 should just feel like a rather light A320, but you're going to have to pay a little bit of attention to it when you're coming into land. The A319 will slow down on its descent more so than the A320, but it will also hold its speed as well when you're on finals, so don't leave slowing down too late. The A321 variant then opens up a whole new world of possibilities in terms of routes. This aircraft can actually fly up to 7 hours, and that's not including the aircraft when it has an additional center tank. Now, the additional center tank in the A321 is something that the Fenix team will be adding later on after the A321's initial release. When that comes, we can use this to cross the Atlantic. But the A321, even as it stands, can be used on a 7-hour flight quite comfortably. And lots of pilots say that out of the 3 different Airbus A320 family aircraft, the A321 is definitely the nicest to fly by far. It is, of course, that much heavier and a little bit bigger, so be careful when taxiing. You probably want to taxi this a little bit more like a wide-body jet than you would do the smaller A320. There are also some various operational things to consider as well. For example, a lot of airlines say that their standard operating procedures for the A321 is to always depart with flaps 2. Now, this is to reduce the chance of a tail strike. Obviously, the longer fuselage means that that is now a threat with this aircraft. Flaps 3 landings are permitted, but again, you need to be very, very careful not to over flare if you're doing a flaps 3 landing with the high angle of attack, because then tail strikes can quite easily happen. Now, the brakes used on the A321 are the same brakes that you find on the A319, which is fine, except you're now using the same brakes to stop a much heavier aircraft with a lot more inertia as well, meaning if you're not careful, those brakes are really going to overheat on a landing should you use them. So you're going to have to think about that as well. If you're in a hot climate, those brakes aren't going to cool down as quickly, so this could really affect your next leg. How long have you got on the ground? Are you going to have time to cool those brakes down, or is it worth just maybe using a lot more of the runway, less braking, and that's not going to spoil your next departure slot? Now, we know that the Fenix team are all about realism. Their A320 is probably the most realistic add-on aircraft of any Microsoft Flight Simulator add-on. So the same can also then be said of the upcoming A319 and A321. This is simply not just a copy and paste with a larger and smaller aircraft. They all have different fuel systems as well. Even the ECAM systems between the two aircraft are different. They've also included different cabin announcements, so they will say, for example, things like "Welcome on board our Airbus A319" when you're flying the A319. The overhead panel, of course, is slightly different as well to show the differences between the fuel systems and the way that the packs work as well. They've also got slightly different wings. That is, not so much the wings, but the actual flaps as well. So you'll see the double slotted flaps on the A321s. But yes, overall, the flight models for these aircraft probably the closest we're ever going to get in Microsoft Flight Simulator. Lots of people already now will be asking the question, what about Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024? Well, of course, the Fenix team have already said that they plan on making their A320 family of aircraft compatible with Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024, which really isn't that far away now, is it, given that November is only 4 months to wait. The final thing to mention then, of course, is the liveries. Yes, 450 liveries are currently available in the livery manager for the Fenix, which means that they're essentially adding something like 3 liveries a day at the moment. Loads of liveries, of course, will be available on release day, so you're certainly not going to be stuck, and more likely you're going to be spoiled for choice. So that leaves me with a question to ask you guys. Are you looking forward to the release of the A319 and the A321? And if you are, what is going to be your first flight, and what are you most excited about in being able to get your hands on these two aircraft? Is it because now you will be able to realistically fly real world schedules, whereas in the past on this channel we've done some EasyJet flights which are in reality handled by A319s, places like Jersey for example, or are you looking forward to the slightly longer flights, the A321s, which can take you all the way across America on a nice 7-hour flight on a smaller narrow-bodied aircraft? Really looking forward to hearing your comments on this one, because the release is now only a few days away. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, please don't forget to hit the like button. Remember, of course, you can also visit our partners, the Contrail store, where you're using the discount code on screen down below. Save yourself 10%. Note that this code is valid one time only on your account, so spend it wisely. And of course, if you're also looking to pick up some great airport scenery or aircraft from our trusted partners at Builds, then please check out the link down below. Using this link also helps support the channel too, so a big thank you to all of you who have done that already. Thank you for watching, and of course, if you are not yet a subscriber, then please do hit that subscribe button and turn on the notifications bell so you don't miss any of our future videos and of course live streams. Really looking forward to showcasing the 319 and 321 for you. Thankfully, we don't have long to wait. Thanks for watching. I'll see you all again in the next one. Bye bye for now.